Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Tuesday, November 19th of 2024. It is approximately 2:04 p.m. and we are convening a session of the Philadelphia Tax Review Board. Our category today is water revenue. With me today is our board chair, Paula Weiss, as well as board members Nancy Kamerdiner and John O'Connor. Please be aware that this is a public hearing and it is being recorded. Because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no expectation of privacy. And by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. This recording will also be posted on the Tax Review Board website. Paula, please take it away. I know we have a couple cases to read. And then in the meantime, I'll put case number 2 in the room.
Very good. Good afternoon, everyone. Tax Review Board hearings for November 19th, 2024 are now in session. Before we turn to the hearings that are going to be in front of us today, we have 2 matters to address that are on our agenda. Case number 5, 1817 Murray Street. Last 4 digits to the docket 9248 has been withdrawn. And case number 6, 10,800 Knights Road, Philadelphia. Last 4 digits to the docket 9278 has also been withdrawn. That concludes the administrative matters. We are going to turn to what is listed as case number 2 on our docket, 1519 Federal Street. Last 4 digits to the docket 9603, and I believe the taxpayer or someone representing the taxpayer is in our offices.
Yes, he's there.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Paula Weiss, Chair of the Tax Review Board. Could you state your full name for the record, please?
Adisa Nature.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Nature, N-A-T-U-R-E.
Okay, Mr. Nature. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to the city representatives first so that we can have them put on the record the periods of time and dollar amounts in controversy, and then we'll come back to you and you'll have an opportunity to tell the board why it is you're here today, what you're looking for from the board.
All right.
Okay, who has this matter for the city?
Good afternoon. Good
Hello.
afternoon. I do.
Hello, Mr. Saifuddin. How are you today?
Anthony for the city. How are you?
Good. You have someone here who's going to testify?
Yes, it should be Ms. Smith.
Okay, Ms. Smith, good afternoon. Could you state your full name and position with the city for the record, please?
Chanel Smith, and I'm the witness for the city of Philadelphia. Water, all right.
And what department are you with?
Water revenue.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Could we have the dollar amounts of controversy, please?
Yes. The period in question is March 31st, 2018 through March 1st, 2022. The principal amount is $3,037.49. The penalty amount is $72.74. The lien amount is $91.45, bringing the total disputed amount to $3,201.68.
Thank you. Mr. Saifuddin, any opening comments?
Yes. Good afternoon. This property has 2 water connections and therefore 2 accounts. And from the face of the petition, it's not clear which of the 2 accounts it pertains to, which is why this was previously dismissed as no action needed. If this
says, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I believe the petition says 001. Does that help?
It does, but if that's the case, then it is in fact no action needed.
All right.
If it pertains to the account ending in 001, there was a debit adjustment after PWD found a straight pipe. And if it pertains to the account ending in R01, the customer bought the property subject to the water debt of the previous owner, and this balance is still not entirely paid off. And although there was a penalty waiver, 50% penalty waiver granted under a different docket number a while back, they didn't promptly make arrangements to pay the remaining debt as ordered.
Okay. So there are 2 water accounts. We're not sure what we're here for. Is that it?
Precisely. And actually it may be a good idea for Ms. Smith to break out the current balances on 001 and R01.
So there is a bill attached. I'm just trying to make sure that we kind of sort this out.
Mhm.
And what's the not, it's, which is, oh, it says R01.
Yeah, and
Hence the
then
difficulty.
I can understand that, but when we processed it under R01, and that's seen on the notices and all of the stuff that we processed.
Yeah.
So I think because of the bill, we look at the bill when we process, so even though it's not a scientific thing and it's not what's on the petition, we processed it under the account ending in R01.
We are prepared to proceed under either account. I
Yeah.
want the petitioner
Yeah.
to know, I want the petitioner to answer, but before he does, it may be clarifying for Ms. Smith to state the current balances on each account.
So
So
before
that he
you
knows,
do that,
because they're very different.
okay, before she does that though, Ms. Smith, the amount that you've already read into the record, which account does that cover?
You're on mute, Ms.
You're on
Smith.
mute.
That's for the R01 account.
R01. Okay, so now you can give us the current balances for each account?
Okay, so we're gonna start with 001. The
Okay.
balance for the 001 account currently is $303.50. Do you want the breakdown or you just want the balance?
Now, I don't know, Mr. Safety, what do you want?
I think the overall balance, because we're just trying to give Mr. Nature an understanding of which account he is referring to.
Okay,
Okay, so just to reconfirm, the balance is $303.50 for the 001 account.
mm-hmm.
And then for the R01 account, give me 1 second while I bring it back up. The total balance is $3,352.98.
Okay, which is, okay. Anything else before we turn to the petitioner?
No, other than which one he is here to discuss.
All right, Mr. Nature, did you follow everything that was going on with the city?
Somewhat, but I think the issue is the R01 account. We had already paid that account off. And then I think when they came in and did the meters, that sometime when the water people come, because it looks like two properties, they don't know which meter they're reading. They changed the meter. So I think they just charged us twice. For the R01 and the 001, they charged us twice for the same thing. That's why I took a picture of the meters. Because if that balance is correct, both of those meters should be reading nearly the same thing, but they're not.
Okay, I'm not quite sure I followed all of that. What kind of property is this?
It's it looks like two properties, but it's one property actually, but it looks like it's two properties. So if you come in through the front of the building,
I'm not sure who needs to mute themselves.
I got it.
Okay.
if you come in through the front, which is 001, I think, you'll read that meter as 001, but if they come in through the front, they'll read it as R01, as the back too. But
But there are 2 meters, is that correct?
there's 2 meters, but they're in different buildings, so to speak, even though the buildings is connected. So if you come into the front of the building, which most people do when they come to the front. But on the Sittingham Street side, there's another entrance. That's where the other meter is at. But they get confused. The water people get confused when they come read the meter. So they think they're reading R01 and they're reading 001.
But each one is connected to a different water service?
That I'm not for sure how you, this water service, I'm not for sure.
And is
That's
the property occupied?
No, it's not.
Property is vacant.
We're fixing it up, fixing the property up. There's people on the front, on the first floor, that's it. The back of the property, nobody's been in there since we got it, so.
Well, so it's not vacant.
Just the front, I have somebody in the front just to watch the building.
Which water meter applies to the front?
001.
One would assume.
Hmm?
One would assume,
Yeah, and R would be the back.
Or is the rear, yes.
theoretically.
Not fair, that's what it is.
So I just want to clarify, it's 2 different sections, and one is the first level, or the front, as you described it. There are people living there.
No, there's nobody living there. She just comes and watches and because they used to come in and steal the pipes and steal all kind of stuff out of the building. So we just have her come and just watch the building for me
How long has it been vacant?
since 2017, 18 or something.
When was the property purchased?
In 2018.
And I think it was indicated that RO1 had a water debt from a previous owner. Is that correct?
That I'm not for sure. Now, R1 is what I thought. we
City,
took
is that correct? There was a previous debt?
That is, we do intend to, we have, in fact, that's what it shows, if you look at the history.
All right. Well, the history that we have that's attached to the petition and some bills that we have says it's the 001 account, not the R01 account.
Yeah,
If I may, it may be useful if I can cross-examine the petitioner.
Please.
Okay, so Mr. Nature, so Nature Family Heirs Holding Trust owns 1519 Federal Street, correct?
yes,
And what is your relationship to that entity?
trustee.
Okay, now, this property, if you're gonna talk about it, it's a semi-detached duplex. Is that a good summary of it? There's two
Yeah,
units in it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so one, and is it the case, and if I'm understanding you correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is it the case that one of the units is associated with one of the meters, and the other unit is associated with the other meter?
Yes.
Now, does anyone, okay, setting aside whether anyone lives in either of these units. Okay, let's actually just go from, okay, let's call them unit 1 and unit 2, okay? Forget front, forget back, forget top, forget bottom, 1 and 2. Okay, between 1 and 2, okay, does anyone live in either of those?
No.
Okay, does anyone use water in either of those on a regular basis?
The front on one.
The one, so there's water being used in one,
Right,
okay, but the other is undergoing renovation.
right.
Okay, and how long has there, what is unit 1 used for, that there's water being used there?
Just when she's in there, she's cleaning or she want to eat something or stuff like that.
Who is this person?
It's a friend of the family.
Friend of the family, and she just uses this but doesn't live there?
No,
Not for any business or anything?
this is just mainly they come in there to watch the building and make sure nobody does the break-ins no more and all that kind of stuff. This, you
So
know,
they're supervising, so how much time are they there, generally speaking, in a day?
couple hours here and there,
Okay, so it's their job is to watch the property then.
pretty much, yes.
Okay. Now, did you have a plumber inspect the property for leaks? Just seeing?
Yes.
Okay, do you have a report?
All the plumbers and, what you call it, you know, like when we did the permits and all that kind of.
Okay,
stuff.
but you don't have any plumber's report saying there was or was not a leak, correct?
No,
Okay. And so in unit 1, there's a bathroom
yes,
and a kitchen?
not really a kitchen, just a bathroom.
Okay, but there's places where she can heat up the food,
Yeah, microwave,
microwave, get a drink of water.
right.
Okay. And so if I'm, and now I'm stepping out a little bit out of cross-examination, this is mostly to understand Mr. Nature's concern. So your concern really is that because, your concern really is that based on the readings that you are receiving, right? 001 looks like it's actually connected to unit 2. And R01 looks like it's connected to unit 1. Is that
No, I think when they come in, they're mixing up those 2 meters some kind of way.
so?
It's like soon as I paid, it was like when that bill first came, it was R01, that 3,000, or it might have been, I think it was like 8,000. That was expensive. So over the years, I've been paying 100 here, 200, 300, 1,000 over the years. Then as soon as I paid it off, it's paid off. Then maybe, I don't know if it was a month, 2 months later, here comes a big bill, 3,000. Now we owe it again. Like,
So Okay, so here's where I think there's two issues here.
Mhm.
And this is as much for you as for the board, or the board
Mhm.
as for you. So there's two issues here, is that, there's two accounts. And it's not clear which which account, I should say, is associated with which meter is associated with which water usage. Okay,
Yes.
is that correct?
Somewhat, I think they're actually charging us twice for the
Sir,
same
if I may, like,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to simplify the issue. The issue, so one of the issues is that there's an issue of which apartment is attached to which account. Okay, which money is attached to which apartment? Is that correct?
Not so much that, because see, they'll switch. When that bill first came to me, RO1 was what I was paying monthly
Mhm.
payments, so like I would pay a little bit down on. Then
Okay.
all of a sudden, some kind of way it switched to 001.
Mhm.
And I think
Right.
that's an issue with the water department when they come read the meters.
Mr.
think-
Safedine,
Yes.
is this a situation where perhaps there needs to be a water department investigation so we can?
So I suspect
Figure it out.
we can tease out a great deal here, with some limited testimony from Ms. Smith right now, if you'll allow me to break from standard procedure.
Go.
All right, Ms. Smith, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen and pulling up the account inquiry for 001. Excuse me, not the account inquiry, the reading history for 001. Observing this reading history, what do you see?
Is there some way to zoom in on that a little bit?
Can you make your screen bigger, Ms. Smith? If that, like, the whole screen? Yeah. Or- oh, that doesn't help. I
Is
thought the
there a
whole thing.
Zoom option?
Hold on.
This is a perennial problem, unfortunately.
We know. That's all right.
If there is, I haven't figured it out yet.
All right,
Um,
go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, but Ms. Smith, can you characterize the usage attached to the 001 account?
So just from this screen right here is
Yes.
zero usage, with sporadic, well, not even sporadic, it's just, zero usage with the exception of 1 month.
And this is 001.
Yes, this is all
Okay.
one.
Now, could you look at the same screen for RO1?
Wait, I'm sorry. Just for clarification, can you scroll down to the period in question, which is 18 to 22?
So, during that period, you'll see, Ms. Smith, can you characterize the usage during that period?
Estimated zero usage.
There's a big one right there.
And that's the final read bill at Rotate,
Okay.
March 2022.
And I'll get to that later. But I'm trying to what I'm trying to clarify right now
Got it. I'm
is
sorry.
which property is seeing which account is seeing usage and which one is not.
Okay, so do you want me to go to the RO1 now?
Yes.
Do you want me
And
to
how
start?
how would you characterize usage here on the RO1?
Okay, starting from the dispute period?
Yes.
Okay, zero usage, progressive zero usage until a few months before the Rotate. Once the Rotate, actual usage again until another Rotate in October 2022.
And what year, I'm sorry, what year did usage start? I'm sorry, it's really hard for me to see this. It's really tough.
I'm so sorry. The first Rotate was, okay, the first Rotate was January of 2022.
So usage started after that.
Yeah, well, it actually started a few months before the rotate.
Okay.
What is rotate? What is that?
When the ERT and your meter will change your service.
That's what it's the switch over.
Okay, and so then after that initial, it was actual readings, progressive. And then the second rotate, October 6th, 2022.
That's what it's on, next in the meters up.
And then the readings continue to be actual and progressive.
All right. So based on this, Ms. Smith, what would you say? So, and actually, this is an observation to the board. It would seem that in the current configuration, the occupied unit is attached to the RO1 meter.
Correct.
Okay. So, you know, that's kind of where I was going there. Now, Ms. Smith, if you could please pull the account inquiry for RO1, the transaction history, and if you could go all the way to the beginning.
In the very first record, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And could you please describe? Could you please read out? Well, describe that transaction.
So this is a balance transfer, meaning a balance was transferred from a previous account, and it was transferred on May 2019 in the amount of $8,717.47.
Okay. And if you scroll through the history on RO1, can you see if or when payments have been made? And if so, when?
As you can see, since that balance transfer, these minuses in front of these balances, they represent payments for the most part. Okay, so 2019, you can see only 2 payments made. The year 2020, only 3. 2021, for the most part of it, there were payments made. So just scrolling through in general, the payments are very infrequent.
Thank you.
But I paid it off. You can see that I paid 500, 500, 200, 1,000. I paid that off.
You're talking here. Okay, so let me expand this screen. Okay, I'm gonna expand it.
Then you'll see $1,000 payment too. Right there.
So when you've made a $500 payment, your balance was still outstanding over $5,000.
Then
So
you'll see
you've
another
made payment.
500, you'll see $1,000 payment, you'll see another 1,000, you'll see 300 payments. That's how I paid it off slowly, but I paid it off.
You
9/8/2021, $1,000.
9/8/2021. You paid $1,000, but even with the $1,000, your balance was still outstanding over $7,000. So you were making large payments, but you were not paying in full.
Yeah, but that's early. I paid it off.
Okay, so we do see payments.
Yeah, but by the time I got, that's still 2021. I ain't paid off. I'm thinking, when did I finish it?
So Ms. Smith, did it ever get to zero?
Yes.
No.
No,
Yeah.
hold on. Ms. Smith,
No, since the balance transfer, the balance has always been, there's always been a running balance, always.
okay. So this is the RO1 account. Can we see the OO1 account? I don't know, Mr. Safety, is there anything else you wanted to point out on this?
Yes, if Ms. Smith could pull the same screen for 001.
Switch that. Yeah, I see that.
And again, please start with the very first transaction. So Ms. Smith, does this also start with a balance transfer?
Yes, it does.
But is it the same size?
No, it's not.
It's much smaller, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Could you please read it out?
Balance transfer on June 27, 2018, in the amount of $610.80.
Okay. Now, if you could scroll up, are there any balance adjustments made to the principal?
And the balance adjustments as far as adding on to the account?
Yes, beyond what would be normally billed.
Yes, here is a debit adjustment made on March 3rd, 2022, in the amount of $3,037.49.
Thank you. And can you investigate, can you briefly explain why there would be a debit adjustment on that date?
Because zero usage was reflecting on the account, on the account for a period of time. And when the PWD tech went out there, they noted that the property was occupied. So it was zero usage reflecting on occupied property.
Thank you.
That's because they switching the meters. That's what they did.
But I'm sorry, so is that an actual or based on an actual or an estimated reading?
Estimated.
It's estimated. Thank you. But that's the 001.
But that's
Yeah.
the 001, correct. And were there subsequent payments after that? On the 001 account?
There were quite a few payments.
Payments, see, it's the same with payments.
If the board pleases, I think and I had a suspicion that this was what happened, but I was unable to speak to Mr. Nature beforehand. But it seems to me that there was an there was a debit adjustment based on estimates in the rear property on the 001. Okay, which at present appears to be connected to the unit which Mr. Nature says is undergoing renovation and which is currently receiving zero usage readings
Because it's vacant.
because so he claims.
Yeah.
Well, that's the testimony, so yes, go ahead.
Yes. The issue is, may I ask Mr. Nature one last question?
Yes.
I recognize this is irregular, but this is a somewhat irregular case. Mr. Nature, the unit that's currently being used as sort of a watch house for the property, was that occupied before you bought it, or was the whole property vacant?
No, I don't think it was. I'm not for sure if it was occupied or not.
Okay, so you don't know?
No.
Okay, I appreciate your honesty. So what it seems to me is that Mr. Nature did pay off the 001 account, the estimated billing from that.
Didn't she say that estimated bill was like $600 when she got to that page?
No, the $600 was a balance transfer. It was what was due and owing before you bought it.
Okay.
The estimate derives from the installation of the meter.
Is it, Mr. Safedine, I hate to ask, but
Yes.
I feel like it's the obvious question. Is it possible that the 001 account was backed bill, but it was really for the R01 account? And so that $3,000 should have been billed to the R01 account and not the 001 account.
Actually, And that would be one way to put it, but if Ms. Smith could please put up the reading history for R01 again. I know you'd have to go into a new account.
Which brings, while she's doing that, which however does bring me back to whether or not this is something that requires an investigation at the property.
So
Because I don't know why, my question is, why was there no actual reading on the 001 account?
So we actually have a good reason for that, if you'll allow me to call Mr. Dybowski briefly.
Okay, well, finish this and then we'll move on to Mr. Dabowski.
Well, the basic point is that there wasn't a meter attached to the 001 connection.
There was always a meter attached. I keep saying, they switched the meter. They took, when they come in to read 001, the water people is reading as R01. They switched that meter to R01. That's why I was paying on this account. I got both of them. One is, I'm paying the same money for R01. Then they switched it to 001. It's the same payments I was making the whole time now. They keep switching. They didn't switch. They mix those two accounts up because they don't know the front from the back of the house when they come in and switch those meters.
If the board
Are you
pleases.
saying there's only one meter?
No,
No,
if the board pleases, there was a straight pipe on one of the two, on the 001.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
We have
You can explain
photographic
what that
evidence.
is, but I know what that is.
Okay.
Why don't you
No,
explain that?
And we're not saying that it was even, we're not even saying that it was being used illegally to steal water. Like, that's not the allegation here. But it shows that there was no usage. And as you can see from this reading, we weren't receiving readings from the meter because there wasn't one on 001, but there was one on R01. We are had actual readings from R01 every month since the beginning of time.
Got it.
That's impossible. See, that's what I'm saying. There's sometimes something.
If I may, Mr. Nature, it is the city's proposition that Unit 1 is associated with R01 and Unit 2 is associated with 001 against logic and reason, but it is true.
That's because they switched the meters in the front by accident or something. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
but what does it matter as long as the meters are, as long as there's 2 meters in 2 accounts?
It does matter because if you put R01 in where 001 is supposed to be, now you're going to get a reading. But if you put in you're reading the back meter as 001, there's no reading. So now they got a reading. That's why as soon as they start switching, that's when the 001 was reading, then it wasn't reading. She said whatever they called it, read something. But basically, when they changed the meter, that's when the problem started.
Okay. May I call Mr. Dybowski just to put it on the record?
Please.
About 001? Mr. Dybowski, you can, Ms. Smith, you can stop sharing. I call Andrew J. Dybowski.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dabowski. How are you today?
All right, I'm waiting patiently.
Thank you very much. Could you please state your name and position with the city?
Andrew J. Dybowski. I'm an assistant manager of the Philadelphia Water Department Meter Division.
Mr. Dabowski, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth?
Yes,
Thank you. Mr. Safety.
Okay. Just briefly, how long have you worked at PWD?
30+ years.
And what positions have you held at PWD?
I was a residential meter installer, commercial meter installer, shop repairman, anything remotely related to installation repair of meters, as well as a supervisor, and now I'm an assistant manager.
And what are your responsibilities as an assistant manager currently?
I oversee the installation and repair of commercial meters, residential water meters, as well as any permitted new issuances for water lines and meters.
And what are the responsibilities of the representatives you supervise?
They are responsible for the actual hands-on supervision of the installers, FSRs, techs, whatever you may call them, to go out and service the water meters.
Okay. Now, in your previous role, did you ever personally install water meters? Mr. Dybowski?
All of a sudden, we can't hear you. Can you say something, Mr. Dabowski?
Yes,
Much better.
pick out.
Okay. Did you ever install water meters?
Yes.
Okay. And how often did you do so?
For the first 25 years or so of my career.
And did you receive training to do your jobs at TWD of any kind?
Yes.
And did your training include information about PWD's policies and procedures relating to the installation and repair of water meters?
Yes.
And did the water department have regular policies or procedures about what to do when you install or change a meter?
Yes, we have policies, yes.
And does the water department have regular policies and procedures about making written records or other when a technician or other representative installs or services a meter?
We do.
Is it just me or is his connection very soft and choppy?
Yeah, I'm hearing him fine, but I don't know.
Okay.
I can hear.
What is the policy or procedure, Mr. Dabrowski?
The policy is that we take a written record of exactly what we find inside of a property when we arrive, as well as a written record of any repair or installation work done at the property.
And does the water department have regular policies or procedures about and is this done in the property itself?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And what is used? What is it written on, so to speak?
Well, it's a work order card. It's an MROC card. Basically, it's a meter. Basically, a handwritten work order summary.
And are there any other written records made at that time as well?
No, that's the only written records we have at the time.
Okay. Does the water department have regular policies and procedures about making photographic records when a technician or other representative installs or services a meter?
Yes, we do.
And what is that policy or procedure?
We take a picture of exactly what we find when we enter the property at the water meter and take a photograph of any repairs or any installations or anything done upon completion.
Mhm. And does the water department have a system to keep track of these written and photographic meter work records?
We do.
What is it called?
It's called Slinky, the operating system,
And is it paper or electronic?
an electronic system.
And how often do you use that system in the course of your work as a supervisor?
Oh, it stays open as an operating system like that's all day long.
All right, I'm going to share my screen briefly. This has been marked City 1. Mr. Nybowski, do you recognize this document?
I don't think you're sharing anything, Mr. Safety.
The heck? It should be sharing.
Now it is, now it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you recognize this document, Mr. Nybowski?
I do.
Can I interrupt? Is there any way you can zoom in on that, please?
This one I can.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're looking at this line here. What is this document?
This is the digital download from the installation of a water meter at 1519 Federal Street.
And can you state what date it's from?
The date, this is, what is the date? 3/1/2022.
So March 1st of 22. And where does the information come from in this document?
The information comes from the tablet that's used to take the photograph, as well as have all the information entered into it that would be the same as the handwritten document.
Thank you. And so does the water department make and keep these records as part of its regularly conducted business?
We do.
And for the record, I forgot this step. I asked that Mr. Dybowski be recognized as custodian of records for PWD meter division.
Yes, so done.
Okay, so this is marked as City 1. I'm moving City 1 into evidence and I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
I'll accept it.
So based on the document, did someone go to the property from the meter shop on 1519 Federal on March 1st of 22?
We did.
Okay, and were you ever their supervisor?
I was.
Okay, and what did they find in the property that day?
At that present time, at that work order, there was no water meter present in the property.
And did they take a photograph?
Wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Duffy, there was no meter anywhere?
There was no meter in the property, no.
Anywhere, Mr. Dybowski, or just attached to the RO1 meter?
That's fine, and just attached to that line.
Wait, which one now? 001 or R01? Or do we don't know?
No, we have to, I would have to see which one was that, 3/1?
Yes, I'm going, did they take a photograph?
Yes, they did.
Have you reviewed that photograph previously?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen to show a photograph. Is this the photograph?
Yes.
Okay. So what does this first photograph show?
This first photograph shows the service line coming through the wall with no meter on line, just a temporary piece of pipe to allow water to run through it to take the place of the water meter.
Is that a bucket under it? I can't tell.
I think it's a pan,
Okay.
or trash can lid.
Mhm. And now on top here, what do you see?
That was the water meter that was installed in the property and placed in a temporary piece of piping that was there to allow water to go through the property.
So this object here, this meter assembly, this replaced that pipe?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Now, if I may draw your attention to this section here, can you see where I'm drawing attention? Please tell me if I need to zoom in. I'm drawing a box.
We can see it.
Okay. Can you read the numbers there?
So I see 5, 6, 6, 2, 6, 9, 7, and the last number is really not visible.
But what is that number?
That is the ERT, the radio sending unit number.
Okay, so is this number unique to that sending unit?
It is.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing. And if
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Safedine?
yes, of course.
Well, I'm sorry, you might hear some noise. I having some work done, so let me apologize in advance. Mr. Dabowski, when you saw that straight pipe that was not attached to its own meter, was it going into a meter? Like what, it was just,
No, that was the meter was removed. It may have been stolen or something or in the past, and then they repiped everything up with no meter there. They just left
the
that.
water was still running through, right? So it was just a straight pipe with no meter, and it wasn't that it was flowing into a second meter if the property had been converted from a 2-family to a 1-family or something like that.
No, that was its own.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes my directive, Mr. Dybowski. If the petitioner has any questions for him?
So didn't we call to get that meter installed, right?
Excuse me, sir. We were called, yeah, letters were sent out to get us in.
Yes.
Few times previous to that, dating back as far as 5/14 of 21. They hadn't set up yet to install the meter with that silver piece of galvanized piping that was there to take the place of the meter. There was a few visits out there finally leading up to the installation of the meter at 3/1 of 2022.
And again, the city does not believe that Mr. Nature or his or the trust he leads was trying to deceive the city or anything of the kind. When properties are purchased vacant, it is fairly normal for plumbing to be installed in this way, with the meter to be installed last.
Mr. Safedine, I just have one question. Can you show us where that corresponds to which account?
With pleasure. Ms. Smith, if you could share your screen on the reading history for R01. Excuse me, for 001.
And then even me, I don't know which building y'all was in when I see that picture. Just from looking at that, I don't know was y'all was in the front with a bridge from seeing it.
From seeing the picture, sir?
Yes, I don't know which building it was in.
Okay. Ms. Smith, can you read those numbers into the record? Or the number of the Ms. Smith?
Ms. Smith, I think you're on mute.
Still on mute, Ms. Smith. Okay.
Yeah, you're still on mute, Chanel.
She says she's trying.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so the
I had some lag.
The ERD number is 0056626970.
Okay, could you, and for comparison's sake, could you please read, find the serial number for the ERTs in, on attached to R01?
It's 0056632192.
And then that's a newer one. Could you, that was installed in October of 22. Could you see the one installed in January of 22?
0056629392.
Okay.
And that was also R01, right?
Yes.
So if I may to observe to the board, the ERT shown in the picture of the meter change is 56626972697 and then something unreadable. So that doesn't match either of the ones on R01, but matches 001 perfectly. So it is the city's contention, therefore, that 001 has always been associated with the rear unit that is currently vacant, according to Mr. Nature, and that R01 has always been associated with the front unit.
No, that's wrong. That's what I'm telling, something, they switched somewhere in there. That's what happened. I already know it. That's where the issue is at. Some kind of way those things got switched with the water department. I don't know how they did it, but I noticed the switch soon as this, even like I'm paying, I had a bill here. I was paying for R01. Then all of a sudden it switched to 001 on me. And it's the same payments I was making. So I don't know.
Mr. Nature, you should be
Nature.
receiving 2 bills for this property.
Pardon me?
He should be receiving 2 bills for this.
I was going to ask that question.
Mhm.
Is he receiving, Mr. Nature,
Yes.
are you receiving 2 bills
Yes.
for the property?
Yes.
Yes.
But at the start of it, I don't think I was receiving.
But the
2
city's records are showing that while what you are saying and you believe makes sense in the sense that the R01 should be the rear, the 001 should be the front. In fact, the city's records do not reflect that.
Exactly.
The R01 is the front.
Yeah.
And Mr. Savidine has showed us that there's usage, and you have testified that there is someone who uses the front.
Yes.
And the rear, which the city has classified as 001, has been showing 0 usage.
Right.
Because as you have testified, it's vacant. So I believe that Mr. Saifedean is making his point that the city's records do not reflect what you have believed all along, which is the R01 is the rear and the 001 is the front. In fact, the city has had them in the other way. Did I get that, Mr. Saifedean?
That is correct. That does seem to be
The
most
readings are showing
consistent with the records.
that, and we understand that that's not what, looking at the bills, you might think makes sense, or
But
that was not what it was, but that seems to be what it is.
But it was $8,000 when we started paying. I paid that whole $8,000 off. Then all of a sudden, that's when the extra money came in. How do I pay $8,000 off and then I'm back at, on.
Well, you can, I mean, they can show you where all your payments went. We cannot do that here, but I'm certain that you can make an appointment for the revenue department to show you all of your payments. $3,000 that has popped up, as you have said, after you thought you had paid it all on the 001 account, it's an estimated reading that the city determined was water used during the time when, according to their investigation, there was no meter, but water was available. And so the city estimated that water was used because they have no record, because there was no meter. Did I get it, Mr. Say, right?
That is correct. And
Alright.
on that basis, the city,
I'm not the only
I'm willing
person
to
having these
entertain-
issues in South Philly neither. There's other people having these same issues all across Philly. And
We're
that-
not here for their
I'm
issues.
sorry, Mr. We can, one person at a time, and
I was saying, I'm not the only one in South Philly having these issues. There's a lot of people down in this area having these issues with these meters.
Well, there, we cannot, compare or, recognize or assist other people who are not in front of us. All right, Mr. Safedine, is there other testimony or evidence you want to put forward right now?
The city has no further testimony. I do have a brief closing.
Can I ask one question? Then for the 001 account, which you have demonstrated for us is actually the rear of the property. Since the meter was installed, which was March of 2022, has any usage been recorded? And I guess Ms. Smith can help us.
Chanel?
On the R01 account?
001.
001. Because that's where that large estimated reading is, correct?
That is correct.
Zero with just one pop-up of one usage.
Okay, so no usage essentially there. And Mr. Nature has testified that that's the portion of the building that's vacant, number one. Number two, are there payments being made or have there been payments made to that account in the last 4 years, 5 years, whatever?
Yes, on the R01 account, yes.
Okay, so payments are being made. And so essentially you
The
gave
last,
up. Yes,
the
sir.
last,
You
the
gave up,
last,
go ahead,
the last payment was November 2023.
2023.
Mhm.
Okay, but the estimated bill was $3,037 and some change. The current of the 001, the current total is $303.53.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Okay, so payments have been made against that. All right, thank you. I don't have anything, I think. Mr. Safedine, you had some closing remarks?
Yes. If the board pleases, I believe the city has demonstrated that, again, contrary to all reason, the account marked as R01 is associated with the front of the property, and the account marked as 001 is, has always been associated with the rear. That may be illogical, but it doesn't matter, because that there still leaves just one account for the front and one account for the back. I sympathize with Mr. Nature's frustration at receiving the debit adjustment in this case, which was an estimate, and based entirely on the fact that the front was occupied, while in fact the unit it was associated with by his testimony is in fact in the rear. And so the city would not necessarily object to an adjustment of that, given Mr. Nature's testimony and apparent honesty.
Adjustment of which?
Beg pardon?
Adjustment to which?
To the 001 of the debit adjustment specifically.
Thank you.
However, the payments have all been very clearly received and processed. None of Mr. Nature's testimony about the payments made, received, and accounted for really stands to disprove what our accounting records have.
Okay.
And that's about that. You know, the accounting seems to be correct. If there is an issue, it is entirely with the debit adjustment.
All right, so I have one question then left, and then maybe we can call it a day here. So for that debit adjustment, and Ms. Smith, maybe you can help me, it was an estimated reading. Can you tell me what the monthly cubic foot reading turned out to be? Or how many months did that cover? That estimate?
Let me see if I can bring it up here. It covered 45 months, and was rebuilt at 8.67 cubic feet per month.
Okay, that's very helpful. All right, Mr. Safedine, anything else?
No, that concludes the city's closing statement.
All right, Mr. Nature, anything else you want to add that we have not already heard?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Board is going to step aside to discuss the matter, and we will hopefully render a decision. Everybody sit tight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, I was
Can you-
looking
can you just
down
join
instead
in?
of,
Can you just join in? Join into the board going back? Where did he go?
So I had to go to the bathroom.
Paula? Where did everybody go? Oh, goodness gracious.
Back in session. I think we have everybody.
Yes,
Nancy?
she's here.
All right, Tax Review Board is back in session. Board took some time and discussed the evidence presented by both petitioner and the city. Our decision is as followed. We are going to make an adjustment to the 001 account. We're going to be very clear. The 001 account. And we want to make an adjustment to the bill and reading, the bill associated with the 3/1/2022 estimated reading that covered 45 months. Stop me if Mr. Safedine, if this sounds like I didn't get it right, but that's where we think we are. We want to have the usage, which is estimated, we understand, the estimated usage reduced to, for that entire period of time, 100 CCFs per month for the 45 months that reading encompasses. And abate any penalties associated with that reading. We recognize that this will create a credit, because I think that most of this bill has already been paid, or almost all of it's already been paid. So if in fact there's results in an overpayment, that there will be a credit on the account, which can either roll forward or Mr. Nature can apply for a refund if he so chooses. As to any penalties that have been paid for that time period, we're also abating those, requesting that they be reapplied back towards principal or towards a credit. That's the decision. And Mr. Nature, you'll get a letter from the Tax Review Board that has that decision spelled out, and adjusted billing will follow from the Water Revenue Bureau. Either party may appeal to the Court of Common Pleas should they so desire. Can I get concurrence from board members?
Yes, John O'Connor, I concur.
Nancy Camerdiner, I concur.
Paula Weiss, I concur. And Mr. Nature, that concludes our decision for this case. Thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate that. We'll see the result in your next TRB adjusted billing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I make one statement to Mr. Nature before he goes? And
Surely.
also, if he contacts me, if he contacts me, once the adjustment is applied, I can see about getting any credit applied to the RO1 so that everything is paid out.
You weren't
paid
sure
off.
about that.
That's
Mr.
beautiful.
That would be great. Yeah, we weren't sure that was a.
Ms. Andre, can you provide my contact
I'm
information?
already writing it down, Mr. Safedine.
All right, so that will help with the other account as well.
All right.
Thank you. All right, so thank you very much. And
All
we're
right.
going to move on to, all right. We're moving on, case number 4.
That's what we have next anyhow.
Case number 4, which is 2043 Walnut Street, Unit 2, last 4 digits of the docket, Y16B.
It's still all work from home?
No, it's virtual, just not.
Well, okay. I mean, we have it.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Paula Weiss, Chair of the Tax Review Board. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Robert C. Morris, Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to the city representatives right now to read into the record the time period and dollar amounts that are in controversy, and then we will come back to you, and you will have an opportunity to explain to us why you're here and what you're looking for from our board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Safedine, is this yours, or Ms. Scattergood?
This is mine, ma'am.
Okay, identify yourself, please.
Elizabeth Scattergood, attorney for the City of Philadelphia, and I will defer to Ms. Chanel Smith to read the numbers into the record on behalf of the Water Revenue Bureau.
Okay, Ms. Smith, you've already been sworn, so please give us the time period and the dollar amounts.
Okay, the period in question is April 6, 2013 through July 19, 2023. The principal amount is $14,633.41. The penalty amount is $5,061.80. The lien amount is $836.60, bringing the total disputed amount to $20,531.81.
Could you read the penalty amount again, please?
$5,061.80.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Ms. Scattergood, any opening comment?
Just preliminarily, the city objects to the granting of nunc-pro-tunc consideration, and would respectfully request that the board consider this petition as out of time, unless Mr. Morris can show he had neither actual nor constructive notice of these bills prior to 60 days before he filed this petition.
All right. Mr. Morris, the city is contending that since this goes back to 2013, that the appeal to this board is not timely, that too much time has gone by. Could you explain to us a little bit about the circumstances and how you came to be here today?
Well, I can explain this way that, when the exorbitant bills came in for this tiny little condo, there were enormous repeated attempts to bring this objection to the water department, and in particular, Ms. Crosby's office at over and over and over and over again. And after finally getting through to someone there, I believe his name was Bile, which is an administrative assistant there, is the one that set up this process to try to ascertain a resolution to the problems of the water department in not exchanging the meter that was faulty at the time. And they were notified, that the meter was faulty and there was damage that was to it. And they failed after numerous attempts where I actually went to the location, waited all day, and no one showed of this being an issue. So this was brought up in the timely amount. We had a hearing on it. There was a decision that was made. There was a bill that went out. There was a offer and acceptance and a restricted of endorsement along with that bill that was sent back, that constitutes a contract that was made. They accepted that payment and said that the bill was done, and then later followed up with a new request that there's additional monies that are due.
All right, so why don't you tell us then how this came about? When did this problem first start? What kind of property is it? What's going on?
This is a condo building in which there are 6 condominiums. Each has their own water meter. And when I originally constructed this building, I basically wanted each unit to have their own meter. There is an original meter that is off the front of the street, Walnut Street, that was on the building. So there was one feral service that was there. I paid money to extend the main Moravian Street and bought in 5 more off the rear of the building. To today, the water department is not aware that this was even done. And each time that they want to try to turn the water off on the building, they went to the front of the street to turn the water off, which only runs unit 1. Made several attempts, on trying to correct this issue. They all went, unavailed. And in 2011, I believe, believe that the PICO had dug up the street because an interruption to the water, access to the water meter, which in unit 1 to date is still off.
Okay, well, this is about unit 2 though,
This is
correct?
about unit 2, which comes off of Moravian Street. The ferrules are 5 ferrules that come off the main that was extended that I paid for off of Moravian Street. And in the spring, summer of, I believe, 2015, maybe 16, I'm not sure what we're talking about here, if I have the right year. The water meter, I have replaced the water heater that fell on the water meter. I have tons of certified documentation that went to the certified mail to Miss Crosby's office. Before her, I forget the woman that was there, their office, asking for their meter to be replaced. They refused to do it. I attempted over and over and over again. And they kept saying, sending bills, and I kept responding to the bills, and that led us to this process. So the water meter has now been replaced. In the hearing that I was at prior, I received a letter along with a bill saying that the bill was adjusted. And with that adjustment, there was an amount that was there. This is the letter that came.
Can't see that, so
Okay.
tell us what it says or what it is, but we can't see that.
Okay, this is a tax review letter. It is dated March the 8th. It says mailing date March the 11th. And it says that there was a hearing and the period of July of 2015, which I said it was in the spring of 2015, to July 23rd, that the decision was made to adjust the bill. And what we had decided and agreed upon at that time was that we would go back to a year prior and say, what was the average usage? I would pay the unpaid periods of what the average usage was, and they would withdraw all the penalties and interest and all the other things, and this case was then closed. Along with this letter that I received, I also received the bill that it came with it. It basically said, this bill basically says that from 12/19/2016 to 12/19/2023, the principal amount that is now due is $2676.33 with a penalty of $874. In addition, it gives the periods of 1/1/24 and 1/2/16/24 of $106 and $107, which would be the water bills, and saying you are now to pay $38.58.12 for the entire bill, along with the check that I sent to the department. That I have a receipt here showing that had been cashed. I sent a restrictive endorsement with it that said that we agree. I don't agree with the penalty because we agreed to waive it, but we agree, I will agree.
So, Mr. Morris, though, how did you get here then? Did you appeal that decision?
I sent all this to Melanie here and to Ms. Crosby, and Ms. Crosby and Melanie said, you need to appeal the decision then, because
Okay, then let me stop you. Once you appeal the decision, it's vacated. You don't build on that decision when you come in front of the board. If that decision has been appealed, whether it's by you or by the city, once you come here, this board starts from scratch. We're starting all over again at the very beginning. We don't.
That's what I was instructed to do by the Department of Revenue, by Ms. Crosby's office and Melanie, that the only way that I can solve this was to appeal it and say, okay, let's come, and this is what occurred, and this is where we're at again now. So now I start the process over again. The other thing I can do is go to the Court of Common Pleas saying there was an offer and acceptance, there was a bill that was done, and they denied it, and said, okay, we'll take your money, And, we're not going to honor our agreement and we're going to we're going to bill you the balance bill.
All right, so why don't we, Ms.
All right.
Andre, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I don't know if he read this, but what he read was just the tax review board decision. It was not a bill. It was simply a confirmation of what was discussed. And the decision on March 8th of 2024's hearing was the penalty was abated at 100%. And from the time period of 7/15/15 to 10/15/15, the account was to be rebuild at 1,500 CCFs a month. That's what the decision was. We couldn't give this, the tax review board did not give an amount. It just gave a decision that the Water Revenue Bureau then applies and adjusts to the account. And he had an issue with that adjustment.
This is the bill that came with it that I paid.
That bill did not come from the tax review board, sir.
Could we-
It came from the City of Philadelphia Department of Revenue.
Ms. Andre, do you think we could we see this bill, whether you show it, whether you
Yeah, I can take a
pull it
picture
up
of it.
on the screen or you
Give me a
scan a copy of it?
No, I sent that to you immediately upon receiving this, if you recall.
Not sure who you sent it to.
I sent it to Melanie and also Susan Crosby.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
That's the bill.
Mhm.
You should have it on your
So
email.
could you then, please start from the beginning, explain to us, how big is this unit? How many people live in it? I mean, all of this time.
Ms. Chairperson, I also would like to just quickly confirm because the LLC entity, 2043 Rittenhouse Projects LLC owns Unit 2, correct?
Mr. Morris?
Is that correct,
Yes, it
Mr.
is.
Morris?
Yes,
Okay, what's your relationship to this LLC?
I am the sole proprietor there.
Okay, does 2043 Rittenhouse, does it own all 6 condos in this building?
No,
Okay. Does it own I guess, this building was turned into condos in, I think, 06,
seven.
correct?
well, I think it was confirmed in 06 or 07, you're right.
Okay, so 2043 Rittenhouse owned the building before it was converted into condos, right?
Correct.
Okay. So so 24, so your LLC doesn't own any other condos in the building right
No, it
now?
does.
It does? Which
Yes.
other condos?
The fraction it owns 4 condos of the 6.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever lived in Unit 2?
No,
Okay. Has someone lived in Unit 2 pretty much since it was turned into a condo?
no, I would say in 2009 it was occupied probably 70% of the time. There were periods of people moving out and then people moving in, mostly Penn students. I
Okay.
solicit the University of Pennsylvania for their graduate students, and they've been very good tenants there that move in and out.
Okay. So, okay. And you said that you said a water heater fell onto the meter in Unit 2, correct?
Well,
When
it was
did
in
when
the
did that?
sub-basement. All the water meters are in the sub-basement.
But it was specifically the water or the meter for Unit 2 that the heater fell onto.
Correct.
Did it affect any other meters in the building?
No, it was
Okay.
that one meter.
Okay. What did you get somebody from the meter shop or from your own plumber out to inspect the meter itself?
Well, the plumber that was there doing the Exchange notified, it said to me that there was an issue when trying to lift the water heater out. It fell onto the pipe and the meter and fractured the plastic on top of it. And, some of the dials that were in there. And immediately after that is when the erroneous bills or the large bills started to come in for water usage that was way beyond, the capacity of that unit, even if every orifice was open 24 hours a day and putting water into it. It's a
Okay.
small condo.
And when did that start? What was the date?
It was I believe, I'd say spring, June of 2016.
Okay, because
We can, I can
Sure,
talk
go
to, I can have Ms. Smith give more particulars about the reading history when we get there. I just wanted
don't need
to
get
double
there.
check what the repair history looked like for this unit. So this was 2015 or 16, this was 8 years ago.
It was 2016, I believe, is when this occurred.
Okay. Okay,
And prior to that, Mr. Morris, who was paying what was the bill payment history?
I was paying the water bills, roughly $69 to $89 a month, every month per unit on all 6 units. Unit 4 was sold and Unit 6 then was sold, and there's paid separately. But the units 1, 2, 3, and 5 are paid by myself, or paid by the corporation 2043 Walnut.
Okay, Ms. Scattergood?
okay. I'm going to call Ms. Smith at this point in time. All right, Ms. Smith, have you had a chance to review this this account?
Yes.
And who owns the unit at issue in this case?
2043 Rittenhouse Project LLC.
Okay, where have bills been sent for this account during the period in question? So between July of 2015 and what is it? July of 2023?
PO Box 175, Gwinnett Valley, PA 19437.
Okay. What charges appeared on the bill for this unit during that period of time?
Water, service, and storm.
Sir, water service, water and storm, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Water service.
And are all the readings, the meter readings progressive, meaning water passed through the meter?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
let me interrupt. Was there usage on the bill as well?
From
You said
20.
water, service, and stormwater.
Yeah. Water
And-
usage. Water
and-
usage. Mhm,
Water usage, water service, and stormwater.
mhm.
Okay. So the readings were all progressive. Were there any periods with estimated readings?
So, yes, some estimated, yes.
When were any of those periods longer than 3 months in a row?
No.
Okay. Were any of those periods like 2 months in a row?
Yes.
Okay, when was that?
That was November 2020 through January 2021. June 2022 through August 2022. March 2023 through May 2023, and then lastly, June 2023 through September 2023.
Okay. Okay. Were there any periods with zero usage?
No,
Okay. Um, has have technicians from the Philadelphia Water Department gone out to the property during the disputed period?
yes.
Okay, when was that?
It was 5 times.
5
but-
times, okay. Talk
Yeah.
to me about the first time then.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, the first time was in February, 2022.
Okay,
They did not get access to the property. In fact, the ones in June, they did not get access to the property as well.
okay. And when you say access to the property, meaning the property owner has to be present in order for anything to be done, any service or like repair to be done on the meter?
Correct.
Okay. So you said in February of 22 and in June of 22, that was the case?
Yes.
Okay. Any other visits to the property, whether successful or unsuccessful, meaning nobody was able to get in?
That was August 2022.
Okay. And was that a successful visit, meaning was a technician able to actually repair something or do something?
No.
Okay. When was the next visit to the property?
September 27, 2023.
2023. Okay. Does the system show who requested that visit?
No.
Okay. Did the technicians install or service any part of the meter assembly during that visit?
Yes.
Okay. And just so I can preserve a record, what are the components of the meter assembly?
The ERT and the meter.
And what does ERT stand for?
Electronic register transmitter.
Okay. And that acts like a radio and transmits the reading on the meter to the Philadelphia Water Department?
Yes, it remotely transmits the meter readings from the property to the PWD tech.
Okay. So on September 27th of 2023, did they install or service the water meter?
Now, I just want to give you an accurate answer. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. Thank you.
Mhm. Now, ask me the question again.
I was asking about what was done with the water meter.
It was changed.
It was replaced. Okay. Was any repair or was any service or replacement done with the ERT?
Yes.
So that both the ERT and the meter were replaced on September 27th of 23. Okay. Was any other work done?
No.
Okay. Did the technicians, do you know if they observed any problems with the ERT or with the meter?
No.
Okay. Did this visit result in any changes or adjustments to the billing?
No.
Okay. Did water department technicians go out to the property anytime after September of 23?
Not according to Snoopy records, no.
Not according to our records. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What has the payment history looked like since 2015, the beginning of the disputed period?
The petitioner would pay just a few times per year. And it was always a little over well, close to $200 or a little over $100, but it was about 4 or 5 times a year.
Okay.
Mhm.
2024,
he was paying more frequently.
okay. And as far as customer interactions go, does the system show when calls are made to the meter shop?
Yes,
Okay.
in
By
general, yes. Mhm.
Were, I guess, how many times did Mr. Mars or somebody from 2043 Rittenhouse, I guess it would be Mr. Mars, call the meter shop about this unit?
Seeing here at least twice. At least twice.
Okay. When were those times?
Once in August of 2022 and the other in September 2023.
Okay. Does it show any calls in or around the summers of 2015 or 2016?
Not meter shop calls. No. Just an illegal restore, but not meter shop calls, no.
Okay. What do you mean by illegal restore?
I'm assuming that the water was supposed to be shut off and somehow it pinged to our system that it was restored. Water is active, it's running.
Okay.
Ms. Cattergood, could we look at the period in question and look at what the usage is and see if we can identify, based on Mr. Morris's testimony, where the problem began and what kind of usage was being billed to the property before and after?
Ms. Smith?
So starting from 2014, and I'm scrolling up.
So stop.
Mhm.
What year is that? We really need to be able to make this bigger for everybody.
That's 26. The bottom of the list as it shows right now is 2016.
Okay, so in looking at it, we can see that, is that May, when the usage seemed to start to jump?
Looks like August.
August, thank you. All right, can you scroll up, I guess? Stop. So we're seeing a lot of fluctuation, correct?
Yes.
Wait, what is that? Okay, keep going. So, Mr. Morris, I don't know if you can actually see this.
Okay.
Easily. Not, I don't know what your tenant circumstance is, but what the city's actual, or what the city's usage is showing is significant fluctuations in usage.
Mhm.
And I don't know what your tenant circumstance was. Can we look at 2020? Okay, 2024. Okay, even in the middle.
That's it for 2024.
So we're still seeing some months with large fluctuations.
It doesn't seem as large as the other ones where it would go
Right.
up from single digits into double digits into the 20s.
And when was the meter replaced?
I'm sorry.
September of 23, I believe.
That's correct.
All right, so can we go back to September of 23 and see what the usage looks like then? And what system no response means what? Please explain that.
It's basically not registering properly.
So these are estimates.
Yes.
All right, stop. This is 2021, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, but I wanted to see after 9/23.
23 to current.
9 September of 23. All right. Stop. And that's when there was a replacement of everything.
Well, 9/27, yes.
All right, go forward. Okay. All right, thank you. So, Mr. Morris, would you say that since that time, your water bills have been more in line with, I guess I don't know what earlier years were. When did you separate these units into separate water meters?
2007 is when it was officially separated. The condo
So
docs were drawn.
so would you say that since the meter has been replaced in September of 23, that the bills that you're receiving are more in line with what the bills were before 2015?
Well, obviously there's price increases, but the usage.
Yes, in terms of.
Yeah.
Madam Chairperson, I have to intervene because I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there are municipal court judgments out on this property covering parts of the disputed period.
That's very important, Ms. Scattergood.
Yes, I'm remiss for not mentioning this up front. It was it was docketed in August of 2018. It's docket number CE-18-08-72-0254.
Covering what period of time?
Covering December 19th of 2016 through April 7th of 2018. Seeking unpaid water and sewer rents in the amount of $3,130.04.
Are there other judgments?
There is one other judgment for, I think, just prior to the disputed period, for June of 2013 through December of 2014. And that is in the amount of, that's docketed at CE-15-03-72-0479. And that's in the amount of $1,124.98.
All right, so Mr. Morris, those are periods that this board cannot touch once a higher court has made a judgment. That still leaves us with some other open periods.
So I just want to clarify, the new open period is from April 8th, 2018 to July 19th of 2023. Is that what's left?
It would appear that way, yes.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Ms. Scattergood, anything else?
Not at this moment. Water passed through the meter, and as the property owner, it's incumbent upon the 2043 Rittenhouse to pay the water bills. So we'd respectfully request that this petition be denied.
Ms. Smith, is there anything in the system that has any description of any damage to the meter or the reason why the meter was changed in September of 2023 or what was found at the time?
Let me just check this to make sure. No theft of service, no damage noted.
All right, Mr. Morris, is there anything else you want to add?
Other than, I've been through this process. We had an agreement and there was an offer and acceptance.
I'm not really sure what you mean by that or who that was with. So that doesn't
was with the board here, that sent me a thing saying, well, we will then discount all for that period.
That was a decision of the board, of the hearing officer, Ms. Andre?
Yes, yes, and then in
That was
response,
appealed, but once that's appealed, that no longer stands.
I just want to clarify,
was
I think what
paid-
Mr. Morris is
it was
talking
an
about,
offer and acceptance, and it was a bill that was generated from this office saying that
was not, we
what
don't
is
generate.
due as of this date.
Mr. Morris, I want to clarify because I actually saw what you said you believe to be the tax review board bill. I've sent it a copy to everybody, including Ms. Scattergood and to my board. What you sent us was a shut off notice from the Department of Revenue. That is not a tax review board bill. That was not issued by by the tax review board, as the tax review board does not issue bills. The department issues the bill.
So you're saying the department was wrong in issuing that bill?
No, that's within their right to issue a shut off notice. That's not, that's a shut off notice. That wasn't the bill pursuant to the tax review board decision.
But it was a bill outlining the periods and what was due that came with the tax review board's decision.
It did not come from the tax review board's decision, sir.
You're saying this happened to
Well,
come on
I
the
feel
same
like I'm
day.
starting to testify, so.
All right, so that's our
clarify.
explanation, and the board is going to step aside and have a conversation. Everybody sit tight.
Okay.
Everybody back,
I don't need Nancy.
waiting.
Okay, everyone is back.
Everyone's back. All right, Tax Review Board is now in session. Board has had a conversation reviewing the evidence provided by the petitioner as well as by the city. We are modifying the periods that will cover our decision based on the city's information that there are judgments for certain periods, so that this decision is going to cover the period January 2015 to November 2016 and April 2018 through July of 2023. We are going to direct to the department to recompute the usage based on 1,500 cubic feet per month, which will take into account that through the years when there was very erratic usage, there were some very, very high readings that did not seem likely and might fall in line with the petitioner's testimony that there was damage to the meter, and that all penalties for that period of time will be abated. So, Mr. Marsh, you will get a letter from the Tax Review Board with that decision. An adjusted bill that does say tax review board bill will come, I guess, 30 to 60 days after that. You will have the opportunity to enter into a payment agreement should you choose for any balance. Either side may appeal to the Court of Common Pleas within 30 days from the date of our letter. Can I get concurrence from board members?
John O'Connor, I concur.
Nancy Cameradiner, I concur.
Paula Weiss, I concur. So that concludes this hearing. Marcia will get a letter with everything spelled out within 2 weeks. But hopefully that will help even out your bill.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on. We have, I think on the Zoom, as I will remember, right?
Yep.
Case
Mr.
number
Jackson.
1 for 2945 North 25th Street. Last 4 digits of the docket, 9416. Kevin Jackson. Good afternoon, Mr. Jackson. Thank you for your patience. We appreciate that. And you are
Good
muted.
afternoon. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon. Would you state your full name for the record, please?
Yes, it's Kevin Jackson.
Mr. Jackson, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. All right, we're going to turn to the city for the dollar amounts in controversy and time periods. Ms. Scattergood, you still with us?
Yes, ma'am. All right, Ms. Smith.
Okay. The period in question is August 28th, 2008 through October 29th, 2024. The principal amount is $10,697.47. The penalty amount is $9,101.76. The lien amount is $582.25, bringing the total disputed amount to $20,381.48.
Thank you. Ms. Scattergood, any opening comments?
Just so twofold. The this period in question is starts in 2008. To the extent that accepting this petition functions as the court giving non-proton consideration, the city respectfully objects and asks that the petition be rejected as out of time unless it can be shown that there was neither actual nor constructive notice of the charges until 60 days before the petition date. Additionally, Mr. Jackson has owned this property since at least 2007 when a stipulated agreement settled a quiet title action and which the court approved in 2008. The order to which he and his and the co-defendants stipulated provided that he would pay for water bills incurred prior to 2003 and that and at no point. So I will let Mr. Jackson explain in greater detail because I don't want to misconstrue what happened, but it appears that it appears from a common pleas court filing in 2006 that his relatives fraudulently conveyed a property that he inherited and for which he is the estate representative. They fraudulently conveyed his parents' property to themselves. And
so the period prior to what's under appeal. Prior
to what's under appeal, okay, correct. But at no point after 2008 has somebody else owned the property. There was an effort to eject the defendants from the property in enforcement of that stipulated order in the beginning of 2008. But anyway, even if other individuals may have occupied the property since 2008, Mr. Jackson was the owner. So as long as water was running through the meter and service being provided to the property, he as the property owner is responsible for the costs associated with that.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, what would you like to tell us?
Yes. Well, Ms. Weiss, part of that is correct. The order stipulated from the common pleas court that the previous owners would be responsible for that water bill. I didn't live there. It was not my property.
Which water bill are we talking about?
Ms. Weiss, I don't know which water bill there is. I don't know how many water bills, but this has been ongoing for a few years now since the Common Pleas Court actually overturned the theft of the property. I was just a person going after the people that stole the property and putting it back into my family's name.
All right, but so we're talking about the period from 2008 to the present.
Well, after the honorable judge reversed it to my name, then I became the owner of that property.
And that
But
was in 2008, is that correct?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
So what's been going on with the water bill since then?
Nothing. When I first received a water bill for, I think it was $19,000, I was shocked, and I couldn't believe that the water was still running. I had the water shut off at that point in time because $12,000. I had never seen a water bill I'd never seen a water bill like that. So I'm asking the board to enforce the court order from Honorable Judge DeVito, which stipulated that the owners would be responsible for any liens, encumbrances, and or anything on the property that they were responsible for.
But you're the owner.
No, this is prior to this was in stipulation.
Has nothing to do with us. That's a Court of Common Pleas matter. This water bill is from 2008 to 2024.
No, ma'am, how much is that water bill? Is $10,000. I didn't live in the property. I didn't own the property.
You just said you didn't own you did own the property in 2008.
Well, that's when the court, I believe, turned the property over to or turned the deeds over to myself.
Well,
so
then you're the
I
owner.
inherited.
The court turns the deed over.
Well, I inherited that water bill, those water bills. I didn't own. I didn't live in the property. I didn't own the property at that point in time. Is what I'm saying.
All right.
When I received the first bill, it was over $10,000, and this was after the judge made his stipulation that the previous owners, would be responsible for that particular bill, for those particular water bills, any liens or encumbrances. And I hired the attorney to go in and bring the charges, but I didn't own the property at all until after the judge turned the property over to me, and that included those water bills or that water bill.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. The amounts that you just read out, the $10,697 in principal, $9,101 in penalty, and so on. What period of time does that bill cover?
It covers from I want to be accurate.
Yep, take your time.
It covers from August 28th, 2008.
Okay, so this is not a bill from prior to 2008. Want to be clear. This wasn't a balance transfer or some other thing.
I don't understand it. I didn't live in the property. I didn't live in the property.
That doesn't mean there are.
Madam Chairperson, if I may be allowed to ask a couple of questions to Mr. Jackson to get an idea for who was living there.
Well, let's figure out whether this is a bill that we're actually going to talk about.
The people that stole the property lived in the property. Those are the people that were responsible. LaWanda Shepherd was responsible for the water bills or any liens or encumbrances on that property.
All right, just a minute, Mr. Jackson. Everybody stop. Ms. Smith, can you tell us where that $10,697 is attributable to?
It's attributed to bills that, so the balance consists of an August 28, 2008 balance transfer of $12,686.41.
Mm-hmm.
Everything thereafter was bills and penalties and liens.
Okay. Is that because the water is off? Because the balance is now $10,697.
Right. So let me see what has been paid. Bills were reversed. There were multiple 15-year write-offs, penalty waiver was applied, like in lump sums.
Okay, so so this bill actually does predate the 2008 date when the deed would have been handed over to Mr. Jackson, if it was a balance transfer.
Right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. So, Mr. Jackson, if in fact what you're testifying to is that this amount of money is the responsibility of prior residents or prior owners because of a stipulated judgment or a court judgment issued by Judge DeVito, then any further action needs to be through the Court of Common Pleas, I believe. Mr. O'Connor, help me out. John, Melissa?
Yeah, I would think so.
That we can't enforce, well, first of all, I know, we cannot enforce a Court of Common Pleas court order. That has to come through the court. So if what you're testifying to is that you believe that none of this bill is your responsibility based on that court order, then that should have, Melissa?
I understand the balance transfer, but I guess my question is, since 2008, when he was in fact the owner, were bills issued? And did he pay any of those bills that were issued? If his testimony is that he shut off the water, but are there
It still
bills
has
being
stormwater,
issued?
yeah.
Or yes, stormwater, is there any bills currently being issued to the property? Because we read into the record 10/29/24. So that, even if it was a $12,000 balance rolled into it, has he been paying any bills since his ownership is really the question.
I see no payments made. Any credits that were applied was accounting adjusted.
As you testified, a 15-year write-off, other services.
Bill reversals, credits applied, yes.
I have a question. Is there a way for water revenue to isolate the balance transfer and the credits and adjustments that have been made to the balance transfer versus what has remained arguably Mr. Jackson's balance since he owned the property? Because I feel like the board cannot enforce what the court said in regards to who should be responsible for the bill before 2008 when he gave ownership. And we don't want to make him pay any of that $12,000 if that is the case. But if the case is that there have been bills going forward since 2008, then Mr. Jackson is in fact responsible and the board can limit its jurisdiction to that period of time. Am I wrong? Or does that not sound right?
I'm not sure to whom that question was specifically addressed. Okay.
I know, it sounds right to me.
I want to clarify that there was somebody, have there been tenants in this property since the order in 2008? Has somebody been living there?
Yes, my brother was living there for a few months.
For a few months. Okay. When was
think.
that?
I'm not sure. It wasn't a long time.
Have you been receiving monthly bills?
I haven't received anything. He was paying a bill under his name.
Under his name.
And
What's your brother's name again?
Andrew
Andrew. Okay.
Jackson.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone else lived in the property since your brother moved out?
No one.
Okay.
Except for the mice. No one. A little living.
Related to that.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay. Ms. Smith, do you think you can show us what the reading history, what the water usage looks like at this property since August of 2008?
Going into 2009, this is into 2010, 11, this is 12. There was a rotate, since the rotate,
Can I ask what the fault code means for the estimated for from 08 through September of 2012 before the equipment was replaced?
I'm not really sure definitely what that stands for, but I'm believe
Okay.
something about not to Itron or something like that.
Okay. And then after 2012, what was the 10 final reading? What does that signify?
Okay, so the tenant final, meaning that if there was a tenant or occupant of the property and the account was in their name during that period, once they move out or it goes back under the owner becomes the account holder, then we put the reading type as a tenant final bill, as like a transition for billing purposes. So it's no longer going to be under the tenant or the occupant. It's going to now be under the owner going forward.
Okay. Okay.
Can you scroll up a little so we can see the next year? Thank you. All right, so there's actual usage for a lot of the months, even if it's just a little. So, Mr. Jackson, what kind of property is,
Yes,
what kind of property is this?
it's the house we grew up in. It's a residential property that I was trying to keep in the family, and I hired lawyers and paid lawyer fees to get the property back, and I've been doing that for a long time now. I've been
Does
paying
somebody
back
live in it
tax.
now?
No, it's
And-
totally empty.
And do you go by and look at it? Does anybody keep an eye on it?
Yes, one of my neighbors, a police officer right across the street from the property. They always look out for it. I grew up there. I grew up there in the 60s. And we've been in that neighborhood for many years. So all my neighbors watch out for it. I just can't gather enough money to get the water turned on so that I can fix it up and try to put the rest of my disability money into it month by month. And this water bill is just this has just been a nightmare for me.
So, Ms. Smith, I think Ms. Andre asked if there was some way to separate out what would be due and owing from 2008 to 24. Is that possible at this time, or is that not? Dylan?
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
And then I add to it periodically.
Is that the
All right,
name of your
um,
dog, Miss Camperdiner?
All right, how do we want to go forward with this?
I'm not.
We need to step back and talk about this for a minute.
May I just ask Ms. Smith one more question, which is how much of the bill, how much was written off in those 15-year write-offs? Can you give us those amounts? If you don't mind.
$8,145.54.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Garrett?
Nothing that hasn't already been said as far as 2/3 of that balance transfer has already been written off as over 15 years. So once the other part of that balance transfer gets written off or gets recovered separately in an action in the Court of Common Pleas, everything that is being billed, everything that has been billed was related to actual and progressive usage. While Mr. Jackson was the owner of the property, whether or not he was in possession or occupying the property is irrelevant under our laws. So he's responsible for the fees.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, what's the current balance?
$20,381.48.
And when's the last time a payment was made?
Never.
Never.
But I do want to also note that 2 large penalty waivers were also applied to this account twice, if you want me to read them to you.
Yes.
Okay, the first one is January 9th, 2013. This was applied from September 29th, 08 to March 2nd, 2012. That amount was $2,369.35. And the second penalty waiver was made on June 15th, 2023. It says per TRB, abate 100% penalties for April 7, 2008 through May 24th, 2023. And that amount was $1,084.22.
Okay, so the 8145 you read off was a principal write-off? You
Say that
gave
one
$1,145.54 was a write-off amount. Was that principal?
I'm not sure what they applied that to, because I think they divvy it up how they do the 15-year rental. So I believe the principals are included in those amounts.
Well, but the two penalty amounts you just read off, could they have been included in that 8145?
No, these are separate. These are two
Separate.
yeah.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have any questions?
No.
All right, we're gonna step back.
Yeah.
Okay, we have everybody back.
Yep.
Yes, all right, tax review board is back in session. We've looked at the information provided by both the petitioner and the city. Our determination that that we don't have enough information to really come to a resolution at this point. So we're taking this under advisement. We're asking the city to provide us through our office with a copy of the court order, summary from 2008 through 2024, and a final number as to what is the actual amount due for the period 2008 through 2024. So that we can separate out the balance transfer and see what is exactly due and owing and how and why for the period of time that Mr. Jackson is the owner.
Mr. Who?
30 days.
Said, ma'am.
Okay, 30 days for that information to come into our office. The board will then be able to review it. We may issue a decision based on review of those documents with the evidence we have today. If not, we'll convene another hearing for additional testimony or evidence that we may need in order to try to come to some resolution of this matter. All right, so Mr. Jackson, this matter is going to be continued.
I'm not Mr. Jackson. I'm
Yes.
Herbert Cooper.
Sir, I said just hold tight. This is not your case. Just hold tight.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, so Mr. Jackson, you're going to get a
Yes.
letter from the tax review board. The matter is on hold at the moment, pending
Yes.
additional documentation from the city that the board is going to review, and then you will hear from us.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
We have to vote.
Yes, thank you. Concurrence?
John
Thank-
O'Connor, I concur.
Nancy Cameradiner, I concur.
All Weiss, I concur.
Thank
All
you, board.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you
We're
very
gonna
much.
move on.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes.
That's okay. You're welcome.
All right, we're going to move on to case number 3, which is 134 South Ruby Street.
Madam
board-
Chairperson, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to confirm that the information, that your decision is gonna, the instructions are gonna be that all that information is going to be listed in the letter.
Yes.
Yes.
Giving your order, okay? Okay, just making sure, thank you.
All right, so we're moving on to case number 3, again, 134 South Ruby Street. Last 4 digits of the docket, 5L1G. And the petitioner, Mr. Cooper, is in our hearing room. Mr. Cooper, my name is Paula Weiss, the chair of the Tax Review Board. Could you state your full name for the record, please?
Herbert Cooper.
All right, Mr. Cooper, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to the city representatives at the moment so that we can get the periods of time and dollar amounts and controversy. Then we're going to come back to you and you can tell us why you're here and what you're looking for from our board. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Who has this matter for the city?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. If the board pleases, Kareem Saifuddin for the city, with Ms. Smith continuing to act as witness.
All right. So we're going to turn to Ms. Smith then for the dollar amounts and periods, please.
Okay, the period in question is December 15, 2019 through August 10th, 2023. The principal amount is $1,111.04. The penalty amount is $81.08. The lien amount is $106.45, bringing the total disputed amount to $1,298.57.
Thank you. Mr. Saifuddin, any opening comments?
I have a few, yes. First, the face of the petition does not identify a period under dispute. And if you'll allow me to double check the petition itself. Yes, the petition simply states that there's a problem with the water bill and attaches the bill of October 14th, 2023. Accordingly, the city asks that the board regard this petition as referring only to liabilities incurred within 60 days before the filing date of November 6, 2023. Any prior balances should be considered out of time. Second, this property is tenant occupied and has had at least 2 tenant accounts, including one currently. To the extent that the customer is seeking to abate liabilities because they were incurred under either tenant's account, I remind the board that the title owner of the property is always ultimately responsible for the water and sewer rents at the property, irrespective of whether there is a tenant account. Okay, we do not care, okay, whether there is a tenant or not. Okay, this is enshrined both in state statute and PWD's own regulations. State statutes, this is the Municipal Claims and Tax Liens Act 53 PS 7251, which clearly states that the owner of the property is always personally liable for water and sewer rents, with no mention of the tenant or other occupants. PWD regulation 100.2 I3 clearly provides that owners, and I quote, owners, whether or not they are customers, remain responsible for paying water and sewer charges until the issuance of a discontinuance permit, and remain responsible for paying stormwater charges at all times during ownership. The city would draw attention to the fact that there is no discontinuance permit for this property. And in addition, that there are no unusual charges whatsoever on this account other than accrual of regular bills and then penalty and lien fee. And to that end, the city can see absolutely no reason for this to be adjusted, and will be asking for a full dismissal.
Okay. Mr. Cooper, what would you like to tell us about what brings you here today?
During the pandemic, the governor at the time and the mayor at the time instructed tenant not to go to work, not to pay the rent. And this lady didn't pay anything. All the years she was in my place. So I tried to take part in the program that the city has set up, administered by Philadelphia Housing Authority. I took part in the program. I presented all my evidence that I wanted the water bill to be paid. Went to court. Everything was there. So since then, I've been fighting this for the 4 years, running up and down behind this one bill. The point is that the city got federal grant for tenant, and they should be paying it. I got letters here that says that they were going to pay all the utility bills, and they didn't pay. They paid the electricity, they paid the gas. That's the water they didn't pay.
Okay. And did you go back to the tenants?
I can't find the tenant. The tenant was represented by the Tenants Action Group, by the city. In fact, the city sent a lawyer. I had to go get a private lawyer. I couldn't get in touch with the person. They forbid me for talking to this person.
And when did this tenant occupy your property?
Hold on.
If the board pleases, I might be able to speed things along by doing a cross-examination of the petitioner.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Cooper, you own 134 South Ruby Street, correct?
Yes,
It's a single-family row home, correct?
yes,
It's a rental property, correct?
yes,
And you had a tenant in the property from about March 3rd, 2020 through January 5th, 2023, correct?
yes.
Okay. And you saw this tenant, her name was Amaya Glover, correct?
Lord, yeah,
Okay. And you sought to evict her, correct?
yes,
Under docket number LT 2207284948.
yeah. Can I clarify her eviction? We went to court first, according to the rules by PHDC. They said
And
I
so
have to evict her.
the
And I
point being, sir, that this was filed in late July of 2022, correct? Approximately, it was the summer of 2022 when you filed the eviction?
I'm not sure. I got the copies here. Hold on.
Okay. If that matches I'll let you refer to your notes. I do have a copy of the docket. I can show it to him to refresh his memory.
Okay.
You have it.
I'm just going to share my screen.
Go ahead.
I'm sure he's seen this information before.
I have a copy of the eviction.
Oh, he says he has a copy.
Okay, well,
The eviction was filed.
so Mr. Cooper, this was filed around July of 2022, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and it continued until through various, through various proceedings.
by the city.
It seems that an attorney did appear on Ms. Glover's behalf, a Kariri
Yes.
Kiambuti. I can represent that this is not an attorney employed by the city of Philadelphia.
I know it was a tenant action group.
Mhm.
That the people that represent her, I don't know where the lawyer came from.
And that in the end, there was an agreement, by this tenant, Ms. Glover, to leave in December of 2022.
Yeah, but she didn't leave. That's why the eviction came in.
Well,
She
no,
can't
she
leave.
agreed to leave in December. You
Yeah, but
asked her to leave in July and she just agreed to leave in December, January. Is that correct?
no, it's not correct. She didn't leave.
In January of 2023?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sheriff had to go there.
So what's the point, Mr. Safety?
Okay, so the point is that this is a tenant occupied property.
Got it.
And that they genuinely lived there. Now, very quickly, Mr. Cooper, are you asserting that there's any leaks at this property?
There's one
Are you saying that there's any leaks at this property?
in a lease right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But not liens. I think he thought you leaks. Does the water leak? The
The
pipes?
water
No,
usage
no,
is not a
no,
dispute.
no.
Okay. So, in essence, Mr. Cooper, you are stating that, do you have you claim that there was a commitment to pay water bills for that are in the tenant's name. Do you have a copy of any documents showing that with you right now?
By the city of Philadelphia.
Do you have a copy of any document showing this right now?
Yes.
Okay,
Can you
showing
please-
what? I missed it, Mr. Safety. Showing what?
He claims to have proof that the city or some entity, perhaps the Commonwealth, sought to pay
The bills?
the bills. Yes.
Oh.
I suspect he may be referring to certain assistance programs that were active at the time and
Right.
may or may not have been paid
Yeah.
full the amount.
There you go.
Ms. Smith, what's the current balance?
$1,125.53.
Okay. What do we got? All right, so I think what we've received, Mr. Safety, did you get a copy sent to you?
I'm sure
Send
it's
it to
I'm
Kareem?
sure it's on the
Yeah.
way.
All right, so it looks like a page from a court order against Judge DeVito, but it's a court of common pleas order entered PLF. I'm not sure what that says.
Paula,
PLF.
that's not right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not the Judge DeVito thing.
Oh, that's the last one. All right, hold on. That just came. They both came.
Oh, okay.
Fine. Sorry. PHL Help Desk.
Yeah,
Is that what I'm looking at? Okay,
that's what he
Yeah,
presented.
it's opening. My computer is
hold on.
being as friendly as usual.
PHL rent assistance application for the tenant has been approved for funding, but not yet been paid. I'm not sure what this. Oh, this says utilities will then, I'm sorry, I'm reading out loud from an email that we have.
Yes.
I'm
Okay,
not
I
sure
see
what it
that
is.
from the rental assistance program.
Yes.
Okay. I think if you'll allow me for 1 second.
Go ahead. You have it?
Yes, I
Yeah.
see it.
But I guess, I think we can't really be clear what that covers,
Exactly. Give me 1 moment.
surely. Ms. Smith, has this bill being paid regularly?
Mm, Not by Mr. Cooper, but the tenant that he has at the property now They're pretty regular.
Okay, so there's a tenant in there now and a tenant account, and the bill is being paid.
Yeah,
Yes,
So essentially what's outstanding is this bill that he's contesting.
yes.
Can I actually start my directive, that may set us, Ms. Smith, may set us up?
Sure.
Okay. Ms. Smith, have you had a chance to, review this customer's account?
yes,
And, what kind of property is 134 South Ruby Street?
residential.
And who owns it according to the system?
Herbert Cooper.
And, where are bills being sent for this account?
PO Box 2288 Upper Darby, PA.
And and to be clear, is this for Mr. Cooper's account or the tenant account?
This is for, wait 1 second. Let me have the account. Mr. Cooper's account.
Thank you.
Can I make a clarification, please?
Mm-hmm.
This account of PO Box rather that we're talking about is just recently they started sending me the bills when it has not been paid. But the bill was actually going to her and she was paying it after this program came.
In any case, Ms. Smith, if we can move on. So there is currently a tenant account for the property, and was there previously another tenant account?
Yes.
When was it last active?
According to the system, from January 28, 2022 through March 7, 2023.
Okay. When that account was closed, was there any kind of a notation about why it was closed?
I have to go through to that account. Give me 1 second. No longer lives at the property.
Okay. And when was that notation entered?
March 8, 2023.
Okay. And what is the name on that tenant account?
Mia Glover, I believe.
So, now, what charges appeared on the bill for this property from March 12th, 2020 through November 6th of 2023?
Usage, service, and storm.
Are all readings progressive?
Yes.
Were the usage readings actual or estimated?
Actual.
Were there any periods, were there any months with zero usage?
Yes.
Were there any periods of more than 3 consecutive months with zero usage?
Yes.
What was that period?
August 2020 through October 2022 and April 2023 through September 2023.
Thank you. Did technicians go out between March 12th of 2020 and November 6th of 2023?
Yes.
When did they go?
It's 4 times. August 2022, September 2022, October 22, and lastly, October 5th, 2022.
Okay. Did any of these visits result in any billing changes or adjustments?
Yes.
When?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I was looking at another question. No.
Okay. So there were no billing changes or adjustments to
No
this?
bill, no.
Okay. Could you please, again, more concisely describe the payment history on this account?
The active tenant's payment history is good. It's frequent. The owner's history is poor, on and off streaks of payments.
Okay. Now, and one last thing, are there any payments, on or after January 11th, 2023?
On which account?
Yeah, which account? That's what I.
On any of the accounts, that would cover a significant portion of the back debt?
Uh, Not for the owner, no.
Okay, now, if the city were to receive a significant payment towards the back debt, would it be reflected in basis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
If the board pleases, I have a short closing.
Yes, please.
Although Mr. Cooper can, of course, cross-examine Ms. Smith, please allow her to do that.
Of
Him
course.
to do that first. If he has any questions for
All
her.
right, Mr. Cooper, did you have anything else you wanted to present to the board or any questions you wanted to ask of the city's representative?
Yes, when I took part in the rent assist program, everything was done by phone. It's not that I was sitting before somebody. It was all the time by way of phone. Once in a while, they will send you an email. That email that you just got constantly talked about the utility being paid. And they pay the gas, they pay the electricity. Why shouldn't they pay the water?
Well, you know
The
what, Mr.
federal
Cooper,
government-
Mr. Cooper, we're not the rental assistance program. We can't answer any of those questions or provide any of the assistance that they said they would or may have implied they were going to take care of. This is a completely separate organization. I don't know anything really about what their assistance programs covered or didn't cover. So, if you want to know more about that email that you've shown us, you need to go back to them because there's nothing that we can do based on that email.
This program was carried on by the city.
I understand, but not this part. I mean, it's a big city, and not this part of the city. We don't know. We have no information at our board as to what that group did or did not cover. So I can't answer what they paid or what they didn't pay or what they should have paid or, couldn't pay. I mean, we don't know. And we don't have any way of accessing any of their information. So I understand what you're saying, and you thought that, that program was going to cover water as well as gas and electric. I don't know whether it did or it didn't. But this bill did not get paid.
I was not thinking it is documented.
I understand, but
And
that's
you will pay
not
all the
here. We
utilities.
don't know anything about what they did or did not have the ability or funding to pay. But what we know is that this bill was not paid, and we're trying to, look at it and determine, whether or not there's any relief that could be provided here. But that's all we can do. We don't know. We can't answer for that tenant assistance program. So is there anything else that you wanted to ask either Ms. Smith or even Mr. Safedine before the board has a discussion on its own as to what kind of decision we're going to render?
No.
Okay. Mr. Safedine, you had some closing remarks?
Yes.
Short closing remarks?
Closing remarks, yes. So as the board noted, there is nothing before the board that suggests that certainly that any amount was received by WRB for in the form of rental assistance, nor indeed does the document that Mr. Cooper presented show any intention by the rental assistance program to cover water debt instead of or in addition to other utilities of Ms. Glover's. Accordingly, there is no reason, there's no basis for the board to adjust the balances, including the penalties. Mr. Cooper is aware of this, was aware of his liabilities. He may have been confused about why some of the principal was not paid, but, you know, the city would suggest that this is not, you know, normal, that this is not normal, efforts, to remain. And, you know, it is the landlord's responsibility to pay. And I think Mr. Cooper should be should fully understand that the city is not in the business of bailing out landlords. That concludes the city's closing statement.
All right, thank you. We're going to step back.
Thank you.
Everybody sit tight. All right, I think we're back in session. Do we have do I see Nancy? Okay, so we have everybody. Tax Review Board is back in session. We have reviewed the information provided by both the petitioner and the city. And it is the board's decision that the relief that we can grant is to abate the penalty portion. Mr. Cooper, this is a dispute between you and your tenants. Not something that this board really can step into. So can I get concurrence from board members?
Yes, John O'Connor, I concur.
Nancy Cameroner, I concur.
Paula Weiss, I concur. Mr. Cooper, you'll get a letter from the Tax Review Board in about 2 weeks with the decision that the penalty has been waived that's attached to this bill. An adjusted bill will follow from the Water Revenue Bureau that you can then pay in installments if you so choose, make arrangements with the Department of Revenue. Either side may appeal to the Court of Common Pleas within 30 days from the date of the Tax Review Board decision letter. And that will conclude this case. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate your patience in waiting your turn. And I think that concludes our docket for today. So thank you everyone for your time and assistance. And this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Everyone have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Bye, Kareem.
Bye.